This is a reading of the autobiography of Ajahn Lee Dhammadharo. So I'm starting at a point where he left the city monastery in Bangkok as he was told by his teacher Ajahn Mun in a dream to go to the forest. So Ajahn Lee had problem leaving the city monastery and he told Ajahn Mun in the dream to come and take him away. And the amazing thing is Ajahn Mun really turned up. So Ajahn Mun is a giant of Thai forest Buddhist tradition. He single-handedly started this tradition and he was totally revered because he was very fully enlightened and many of his disciples awakened under his teachings. So this was in the 1920s when Ajahn Lee had followed Ajahn Mun all the way to Chiang Mai to attend a monk's funeral, and they were staying in Wat Chai Di Leong. So it's 1931. 1931, the year Chao Kun Upali died. I spent the rains very close to Ajahn Mun, attending both to his needs and to my own meditation. He in turn gave me a thorough breaking in every way. Each evening, he had me climb up and sit in meditation on the north side of the Great Chedi. There was a large Buddha image there. It's still there today. And Ajahn Mun told me that it was a very auspicious spot, that the relics of the Buddha had been known to come here often. I did as I was told in every way. Some nights I'll sit all night to meditate without any sleep. We stayed in a hut in a banana grove. Lady Thip and Long Yong, the chief of police, had the hut built and presented to Ajahn Mun. Nai Thip, clerk in the provincial treasury, and his wife, Nang Ta, made sure that Ajahn Mun had plenty to eat every day. I made a regular practice of going with Ajahn Mun when we went up for alms. As we would walk along, he had constantly be giving me lessons in meditation all along the way. If we happened to pass by a pretty girl, he would say, "Look over there. Do you think she's pretty? Look closely. Look down into her insides." No matter what we passed, houses or roads, he'll always make it an object lesson. At the time, I was only 26. It was my 5th rains retreat, and I was still feeling young, so he was always giving me lessons and warnings. He seemed very concerned for my progress, but there was one thing that had me puzzled, having to do with robes and other requisites that people would donate. He seemed reluctant to let me have anything nice to use. Sometimes he'll ask for whatever nice things I did have and go give them to someone else. I had no idea what he meant by all this. Whenever I'll get anything new or nice, he'll order me to wash and dye it to spoil the original color. Say I'll get a nice new white handkerchief or towel, he'll order me to dye it brown with dye from the hardwood of a jackfruit tree. Sometimes he'll have to order me several times, and when I still wouldn't obey, he'll go ahead and dye the things himself. He liked to find old, worn-out robes, patch them himself, and then give them to me to wear. One morning, I went together with him on our alms round, down past the police station. We happened to pass a woman carrying goods to the market, but my mind was in good shape. It didn't stray away from the path we were following. I was keeping complete control over myself. Another time, when I was walking a little distance behind him, he walked fast, but I walked slowly. I saw him come to an old worn-out pair of policeman's trousers thrown away by the side of the road. He began to kick the trousers along, back and forth. I was thinking all along that I had to keep my thoughts on the path I was following. Finally, when he reached the fence around the police station, he stooped down, picked up the trousers, and fastened them under his robes. I was puzzled. What did he want with old trash like that? When we got back to the hut, he placed the trousers over the clothes railing. I swept up and then set out the sitting mats. After we had finished our meal, I went into his room to arrange his bedding. Some days he'll be cross with me, saying I was messy, that I never put anything in the right place, but he'll never tell me what the right places were. Even though I tried my best to please him at all times, he was still severe with me the entire rain retreat. Several days later, the old pair of trousers had become a shoulder bag and a belt. I saw them hanging together on the wall. And a few days afterwards, he gave them to me for use. I took them and looked at them. They were nothing but stitches and patches. With all the good things available, why did he give me this sort of stuff to use? Attending to Ajahn Mun was very good for me, but also very hard. I had to be willing to learn everything anew. To be able to stay with him for any length of time, you had to be very observant and circumspect. You couldn't make a sound when you walked on the floor. You couldn't leave footprints on the floor. You couldn't make noise when you swallowed water or opened the windows or doors. There had to be a science to everything you did. Hanging up ropes, taking them in, folding them up, setting out sitting mats, arranging bedding, and everything. Otherwise, he'll drive you out, even in the middle of the rain's retreat. Even then, you just have to take it and try to use your powers of observation. Every day after our meal, I'll go to straighten up his room, putting away his bowl and ropes, setting out his bedding, his sitting cloth, his spittoon, his tea kettle, pillow, etc. I had to have everything in order before he entered the room. When I had finished, I'll take note of where I had placed things, hurry out of the room, and go to my own room, which was separated from his by a wall of banana leaves. I had made a hole in the wall so that I could peek through and see both Ajahn Mun and his belongings. When he came into the room, he'll look up and down, inspecting his things. Some of them he'll pick up and move, others he'll leave where they were. I had to watch carefully and take note of where things were put. The next morning, I'll do it all over again, trying to place things where I had seen him put them himself. Finally, one morning, when I had finished putting things in order and returned to my own room to peek through the hole, he entered his room, sat still for a minute, looked right and left, up and down, all around, and didn't touch a thing. He didn't even turn over his sleeping cloth. He simply said his chants and then took a nap. Seeing this, I felt really pleased that I had attended to my teacher to his satisfaction. In other methods, such as sitting and walking meditation, Ajahn Mun trained me in every way to my complete satisfaction. I was able to keep up with him at best only about 60% of the time. So Ajahn Mun had great energy, and by this time he's really, I think, past his middle age. At the end of the rain's retreat, Wat Borom Nivasa arranged Chow Kun Upali's funeral, and nearly all of the senior monks in Wat Chai Di Leong went down to Bangkok to help. The abbot had Ajahn Mun watch over the temple in his absence. After the funeral was over, a letter came to Ajahn Mun, giving him permission to become a preceptor. When Ajahn Mun opened the letter, he found that there was more. The letter asked him, in addition to becoming preceptor, to also accept the position of abbot at Wat Chai Di Leong. Chow Kiao Nawarat, or Prince Nine Jewels, the Prince of Chiang Mai, was to make all the necessary arrangements. Would Ajahn Mun please take over the duties of the previous abbot? That, in short, was the gist of the letter. When Ajahn Mun finished reading it, he sent for me. I have to leave Wat Chai Di Leong, he said. 2 days after the end of the rains retreat, he had sent me out on my own to a mountain in Lompon province, a spot where he himself had once stayed. I camped a little more than 10 days at the foot of the mountain, until one day at about 3 in the afternoon, while I was sitting in meditation, there was an incident. It was as if someone had come with a message. I heard a voice say, "Tomorrow you have to go up and stay on top of the mountain." The next day, instead of climbing to the top, I went to stay in an old abandoned temple, said to be very sacred. People had told me that whenever the lunar Sabbath came around, a bright light would often appear there. It was deep in the forest, though, and the forest was full of elephants and tigers. I walked in alone, feeling both brave and scared, but confident in the power of the Dharma and of my teacher. I stayed for 2 nights. The first night, nothing happened. The second night, at about 1 or 2 in the morning, a tiger came, which meant that I didn't get any sleep the whole night. I sat in meditation, scared stiff, while the tiger walked around and around my umbrella tent. My body felt all frozen and numb. I started chanting, and the words came out like running water. All the old chants I had forgotten now came back to me, thanks both to my fear and to my ability to keep my mind under control. I sat like this from 2 until 5 a.m., when the tiger finally left. The next morning, I went for alms in a small village of only 2 households. One of the owners was out working in his garden, and when he saw me, he told me that the tiger had come and eaten one of his oxen the night before. This made me even more scared. So finally, after my meal, I climbed to the top of the mountain. From the top, looking out, you could see the Chaidi of Wat Pra Datu Haribunjai in the town of Lampun. The mountain was named Doi Khao Mau, Thumb Mountain. At its summit was a deep spring, so deep that no one has ever been able to fathom it. The water was crystal clear and surrounded by heads of old Buddha images. Climbing down from about 2 meters from ground level, you reach the surface of the water. They say that a person who falls into the spring won't sink, and that you can't go diving down under the water. Women are absolutely forbidden to go into the spring, for if a woman does happen to enter the water, she'll go into convulsions. People in the area consider the whole mountain to be sacred. Ajahn Mun had told me that there was an important spirit dwelling in the mountain, which I'm staying at, but that it wouldn't harm or disturb me because it was acquainted with the Dharma and Sangha. The first day after reaching the top, I didn't have anything to eat. That night I felt faint. The whole mountain seemed to be swaying like a boat in the middle of a choppy sea, but my mind was in good shape and not the least bit afraid. The next day, I did sitting and walking meditation in the area around an old abandoned sanctuary. From where I was staying, the nearest village I could have gone for alms was more than 3 kilometers away. So I made a vow. I won't eat unless someone brings food here. That night, I had a stomach ache and felt dizzy, but not as bad as the night before. At about 5 the next morning, just before dawn, I heard huffing and panting sounds outside the sanctuary. At first, I thought it was a tiger. But as I listened carefully, it sounded more like a human being. That side of the mountain, though, was very steep. Not too steep to climb up, but I can guarantee that it was too steep to go down. So who would be coming up here? I was curious, but didn't dare leave the sanctuary or my umbrella tent until it was light outside. When dawn finally came, I went outside, and there by the side of the sanctuary was an old woman about 70, sitting with her hands raised in respect. She had some rice wrapped in a banana leaf that she wanted to put in my bowl. She also gave me 2 kinds of medicine, some roots and pieces of bark. Take this medicine, she said. Grind it down and eat it, while making a wish for your health, and your stomachache will go away. At the time, I was observing the monks' discipline very strictly, and so, because she was a woman, didn't dare say more than a few words to her. After I had finished eating 1 lump of red glutinous rice and the roots and bark, I chanted some blessings for her and she left, disappearing down the west side of the mountain. So what's interesting here is that in many of the monastics biography I read, it seems that even in very deserted, secluded places, when they made an aspiration, such as Ajahn Lee did, making a vow not to eat unless someone climbs up the mountain to serve him food. So these are like devas, right? Yes, happened to quite a few monks in the biographies that I read. So that's all for the reading today. Thank you.